welcome to my channel. Today I am going to show you how to do some different gnome hats. One of my subscribers wanted to know how to get it to slouch, so we will do that. First I'm going to show you how to do one with a styrofoam cone. I have the bodies all made, noses, beards, and what you're going to do is you don't need to stuff the head, because we're going to hollow out this cone. I made his hat already. We're going to hollow out the cone, and you don't want to go too close to the edge. And see if I can do this just a second. I'm just going to do it in this bowl here so you can see me. So I'm just got a cheap paring knife, probably from Dollar Tree, and I'm kind of going in at an angle just to make a hole so we can glue this to the top of his head. And if you guys haven't subscribed to my channel, I would love for you to join and click on that subscribe button, and that will notify you, or when you click on the bell, that will notify you when I upload a new video. So I'm just going in and hollowing this out. This kind of foam gets really messy, so I usually do it over the garbage. You gotta have a deep enough hole so you can glue it on. And I get the cones from the Dollar Tree. And you can, if you don't want it this tall, you can cut it down and use the top, and then you can still use the bottom part. You could just sculpt it into a point. So that should be good. I'm just going to take my hot glue gun and I'm just going to fill this with glue. It is hot, so it probably will melt it some, but it's not going to melt it that much. So I just get enough inside the hole, and I'm going to go on along the edge also. Not too close because it will squirt out. So you got to have some here to put in the hole, and make sure I kind of do the seam to the back and tuck it in there. Be careful because it's going to be hot. And if you wanted to tie that off, you could. And you're probably going to have to hold it down for a minute or two until it kind of starts drying, but it should be okay. And then I sewed my hat like I do all my gnome hats. Sometimes I will cut a rectangle and then I'll cut my piece, sew it, and then cut the excess off. Sometimes I'll cut the triangle, and this is how I always do it. I like it when it comes down in the back. So that's kind of how I did this one. This was made from one of the sweaters from my video that I did with the sweaters that I got and the fur at the Goodwill. So this was part of the back of the sweater, so it was the ribbing, and then I just cut, this was part of the upper part of the sweater, and then I made arms. So I'm just going to put this on, and the seam goes to the back, of course, and then we're just going to glue this on. So you're just going to flip it, and I just flip it up like I usually do. I'm going to cut my threads there. And when you do your arms, you have to make sure that you get them up by the head or the neck, because you want to be able to cover the arms with the hat. So I just do the back a little bit. I don't go all the way to the sides quite yet. And then pull that down and press it. So when I do a sweater for a gnome, I try to save like the ribbing or the cuffs for the hat, and it depends on the cuffs of the sleeve, if they are stretchy enough, if it's big enough. So then we are going to glue the sides down. So I'm going to lay it down. And I'm going to kind of flip this up. And I need a glue stick. And just be careful so you don't drip glue on your nose. And press that down. And then we'll do this other side and make sure you get the beard out of the way. And press that down. And then we're going to flip up the nose. I've got a little bit on the nose already on the sweater. So you can do, like I said, you can do the smaller, do a smaller cone. So you could probably, if you use half, cut this in half, you could get 2 gnome heads out of there, or for the hats. So that's how you would do the cone. If you wanted to, you could still do like a pom-pom on the top, and then decorate it if you want to do flowers or whatever. And our next one, I did the hat a little differently. I did it like this, and I'm going to try to do one like a skiing gnome, but I got to find the right kind of fabric. So I'm going to show you how I did that. So how I cut a piece that was about 9 inches by 12, and then I hemmed it up about a good 1/2 inch. You don't have to, but I did. And then I just did a straight stitch. And then we're going to take some strong thread. And you can use a rubber band if you want, but the rubber band is going to dry out over time. And we're just going to gather. This is still wrong side out. And you're just going to bunch this together. And you're going to take and you're going to tie this around. And this is kind of how I do my noses. And I just came, the way I did my noses is I take one side of the thread and I wrap it around once. Now I just kind of found out if I wrap it around, and I do this with my noses now, I'll wrap it around about 4 or 5 times, and then if you pull both of them, it stays tight and it will not get away from you. So you have to wrap it around, I would say 4 or 5 times. So that's why you have to have a long enough thread to do that. And I started doing it with my noses on my gnomes, and I don't have to sit there and hold it so it, you know, doesn't come undone. And you want to cut some of that excess off. And then you turn it inside out and it's gathered. And the way I did the pom-pom was I cut a square, this is a larger one, cut the corners off, and I did a running stitch. So I'm ending on the wrong side. I have to make sure I have enough here. So I went all the way around, and you kind of got to hold your fur out of the way because it will get in with your needle and your thread. And I'm going to pull this tight, and don't leave your needle on because we're going to put it through the hat to the wrong side and then tie it off underneath the hat. So you're going to pull this and then just tie a few knots. So it's got to be strong because if you pull it and it breaks, it's hard with that fur all over the place. Tie my fur in there. Oh, my needle came off. I'll have to put it back on. Okay, so tie a few knots, and you're gonna thread both of the threads through the needle, so you need a big enough eye to do that. Depends on how big your thread is, how thick. So you're gonna put both of those through, and then we're gonna go through the middle, and it might be a little difficult. I use a big thick needle, and if I can't get it through, I take my needle and put it on my cutting mat and poke it, push down, and it should come through. And if you have to use your needle nose pliers to pull it, you can do that too, because I've had to do it before. And I'm gonna have to. And you could glue that on, but I would rather tie it. And so get that. Make sure it's in the center. And then you're just gonna tie these strings. Cut these a little shorter. And you're just gonna tie these in a knot, in a couple of knots. And then cut the excess off. Don't cut too close to the knot. Tie a knot. And then you're going to have to fluff it up. And some of my fur is underneath there. So if you want to glue it, which I think I will because of where I ended, it was on the side and it's kind of floppy. So I'm just going to take and glue right here in the middle, kind of the pom-pom, and then just glue it to the hat. So that's how I did this hat, and I'm gonna just let that sit and dry. And I'm gonna put this one on. And my fabric, I got this fabric at Joann's. I think it was on the clearance, and the remnants, and that's what it looks like. It's very pretty. I made a year or two ago, I made an Easter bunny, and it turned out really cute. So I'm gonna probably save some and do that next Easter, is make an Easter bunny out of it. So we're gonna glue his hat. You're gonna get the seam down the back of his body, and I flip it up and glue it like I always do. Don't go too close to the edge of the hat. I try to stay a little bit away so it doesn't seep out. And then make sure your glue gun is clean, doesn't have any fur. And then flip that down, and I did arms on this one also. And then we're going to do his sides, get his fur, his beard out of the way. Pull that down a little bit. His nose is a little crooked. And you could use a different kind of pom-pom if you wanted, or if you don't want to do a pom-pom. So that is that kind of a hat. And I wanted to do one with the sweater, but I didn't have the right kind of sweater with the ribbing to do it with this kind, so we did that one. And then we're going to do another one. This is where you can make your pointed hat, and you're going to stuff it with stuffing, and you're going to have his head stuffed. And I have him already made. He is made with some fleece that I got at Joann's on the remnants, and it has deer on it, and it has a deer, and I didn't want that in the front, so I put it on the back. So I cut it so I had enough of like the leaves and stuff for the front, because I didn't want the deer head on the back or on the front. And then you're going to put it on. So you're going to stuff it, and before you glue it on, make sure you have enough stuffing. And if you want some of the top to flop, don't stuff it all the way, but I've stuffed this one all the way to the top. So again, we're going to flip our back up. And then we're going to put our glue on. And then flip that down and press it. So you want it so that seam is centered like with the nose. And do our sides. And there have been times when I've done a floppy hat and I haven't stuffed it, and I didn't like it, and I thought, oh, I wish I would have stuffed it. And I've kind of reached under the hat and see if there's enough where I can poke some in, or if I pull it away, if I can, you know, tear it so I can just get a little bit of a hole and I can stuff it. So I've done that too. Okay, I'm gonna get his nose. I gotta get more on this side here. And me and my husband were in town rummage sailing on Saturday the 16th, or we were doing some errands, and we're coming home, and there was this rummage sale, and we went to it, and this lady had a bunch of stuff. She had a box of fleece, $10, and I walked around, and it's just like, I went back and looked at it, and it was a lot of plaid fleece, and I got it. It had some really pretty ones in there. Okay. So you can do a hat that way if you wanted to. You can flip the hat up. And this is one of the ones I did with the fleece from the sale in the box. And I took and I flipped the front up. And I had, this was jute ribbon. And you can do it with regular jute. And let's see, I had it here. Where did I put it? So what you can do, because I can't find my piece now, is you can just take some jute and fray it. And you can kind of make sure you get your cuts straight. So you can fray it. So you want to fray both sides is what the ribbon was already frayed. And then you're going to fold this and glue that. And then you can tuck it, put it on just the front and flip his hat up. So I glued it underneath the flap, only down to about the arms. So I thought that was really cute. And then I did everything else in like the jute. So this was some of the fabric from the sale. Okay, so we have, this is our floppy hat. Let's get some of this out of the way. Floppy, slouch, I don't know what you want to call it. I guess I didn't really have a name for it. And this was one of the sweaters from the rummage sale. So the sock, this was a kid's sock. So I did this sock, and it was this kind of a sock. from the Dollar Tree. And it comes with a plastic form in here. If you buy these, don't throw them away, because you can make shoes out of them, and you can make gnome shoes, and I will do a video and show you how to do it. So because the sock had, I don't know, it had some design on it, and I didn't want it showing because this fabric, this sweater is kind of see-through. So I just took some white fleece and laid that on the wrong side of the sweater, and then gathered those both up together. And then I made my hat out of the main part of the body of the sweater with the ribbing. And so then you're just going to put that on there. You're going to have his head stuffed a little bit. And I'm not even going to worry about tying that off because it's going to be fine. And you're going to have the seam going down the middle in the back. And you're going to flip it up. Make sure I got it. Yeah. And so you got to be careful when your sweater or material is not that thick, because your glue will come through a little bit. So then press that down and get the fur out of the way. So we're going to do the sides. And do the same on the other side. And I need a glue stick. So this is just some different ways that you can do some different hats. Make your gnomes look a little different. And it changes their look, which, you know, with the hat and the nose. And then I would just leave this. I wouldn't stuff that, and then you can drape it. You can put it however you want it, if you want to twist it, whatever you want to do. So you can just let it hang there. And that's our slouchy hat. If you wanted to put a pom-pom, you can do that, like I did on the pink one with the pink sweater. I did the pom-pom, and I did the same way as I did on this one. Okay, and I got one more. I don't know if I was going to do a slouchy hat on this one too. So this is how I did. This is part of a sweater, and I did it from the body of the sweater. I'll put my needle back. So I'm just going to cut this. Cut that excess off, and you're going to turn it right side out. And I think I'm going to stuff his hat a little more. So yeah, when you buy the socks for your gnomes, like all of these ones, this was a kid sock. And there's a 1 through 7 and a 2 through 7. I would get the smaller one because they do stretch. If you get an adult sock, you're going to have a huge gnome. So we're just going to... we're just going to leave that. So you're going to get that seam down the middle, in the back, flip it up, and then kind of get my fingers underneath that fold and push it down. And then we'll do a little bit on his nose. And then you can let that one slouch. You can put a pom-pom. So you can decorate these any way you want to. So let's bring all of them in. see if we could get them all in. So there's all the different gnome hats you can do. So if you have any questions on anything, if you need to know size or whatever, size is really hard because it depends on how big you stuff your gnome, how big, you know, the body is, your head. So it kind of is, you kind of have to, you know, just trial and error. So if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, if you would click on that subscribe button and then hit that bell, and that will notify you each time I upload a new video. If you already have subscribed to my channel, thank you for joining my channel and my crafting community. And if you like my content, if you click on that like button, that helps my channel to grow. So I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for joining. Bye-bye.